What's up, fam? Welcome back. We are going to do a different kind of video. We are going to look at an example of someone's chart and what it could mean and how it could play out. We are going to look at Marvin Gaye's natal chart, and specifically, we are going to look to his North Node in Scorpio at the 8th degree in the 4th house. Now, there's a lot of aspects I would love to talk about when it comes to his chart, and I'm definitely going to throw in some because it has a lot to do with how it obviously played out. But I can't go over every single thing because this video would be forever long. Now, Marvin Gaye is an American singer-songwriter. He is known as one of the greatest R&B slash soul singers of all time. Marvin Gaye was known for his seductive impact on the musical world with his hits such as I Heard It Through the Grapevine, What's Going On, Let's Get It On, Sexual Healing. Gaye had 41 top 40 singles, including 3 number 1 pop hits and 67 singles on the Billboard charts overall. Now, the interesting thing about him is that the master of the sexy single was taken down financially by divorce. Gaye filed for bankruptcy in 1976 after failing to keep up with alimony payments, as he reportedly owed his ex-wife in the neighborhood of $600,000. To get out from under her thumb, he promised his ex the royalties to his next album, which ironically dealt with his feelings about the divorce. Gaye continued performing, but he still faced financial troubles and drug addiction. He seemed to be making a comeback from 1982's Sexual Healing until, following a heated argument, he was killed by his father in 1984, the day before turning 45. Now, that's a lot to digest. I know. So, here we go. Now, Marvin Gaye is a Virgo moon, Aries sun, Cancer rising. His moon is at the 22nd degree. His nodes are at the 8th degree. So a north node, it looks like the headphones, if you guys can see it right there in the sign of Scorpio in the 4th house. That means his south node is on the opposite side in Taurus in the 10th house. The south node is the dragon's tail. It's what's already full. It's what we already have done in lifetimes many times before. We have mastered this energy. We are A1 day one with this energy. It is our comfort zone. It's what we want to do. It's easy for us to achieve. Now he has the south node in the 10th house in Taurus. What does that mean? It was easy for him to achieve worldwide success and financial gain. Okay, because Taurus deals with the material world. It deals with finances, money, investments. It also deals with the 5 senses. It deals with food, clothing. It also deals with sex, real estate. Also deals with family values. It deals with the throat because Taurus rules the throat of the neck, our throat chakra. So obviously all of these things come into play when we're talking about Marvin Gaye. And as you see, he is conjunction in Aries. And that picture I have of him in the top, I mean, he has all red on. Okay, so that's very Aries. He is used to being first, to being seen, to being outwardly confident, to being a leader, a risk taker, a pioneer. However, there was definitely a humbleness and a suppression and a repression of his ego as well as his identity and his masculinity. And that comes a lot from his relationship with his overbearing and controlling father and confusing father. Very complex father. So that sun in the 10th house, north node, south node in the 10th house, reinforces that he's been out in the world before, famous, being known, being seen. Now, the north node is in the 4th house of Scorpio, and Scorpio deals with death, sex, rebirth, other people's money, merging other people's investments, and definitely divorce. Deals with intimacy as well and vulnerability. And this is in the fourth house, dealing with home and all family issues. So the North Node is saying pay attention to all the family issues. And his North Node is trining his Chiron in Cancer, which is that deep seated abandonment fear and paranoia that he has in his relationships and around his family, and especially around his mother. So it's quite interesting that, he had financial issues. He filed bankruptcy, which is a very Scorpionic thing, the loss of your gains, right? Scorpio is a death and rebirth of his finances, and his Pluto is located in the first house. His Scorpio rules the fifth house. So, what does that mean? There was a transformation to him physically, as well as through his fifth house, through his music, his musical expression, which was his stage presence. And obviously, it would affect him personally as well. Additionally, with that Pluto at that 29th degree, it was, he had this soul urge to really transform the idea of emotional stability, emotional wealth, intimacy, and the family structure, the healing of the family structure. With that Pluto in the first house, it would happen to him. And as a young child, he was abused by his father, who was an alcoholic as well as a pastor, as well as a cross-dresser. So a very complex, confusing man, which definitely is reinforced by, that ninth house. Ninth house shows what the father did. So that's in Pisces. Pisces is, faith, spirituality, it's healing, but it's also escapism, addictions, drugs, scandals, lies, manipulation, nebulousness. The dark side of Pisces is really, really dark. So this is why a lot of Pisces and Pisces men and people with men with Pisces heavy energy have double lives a lot, because of that mutable energy, that nebulous energy, as well as, the sun represents Marvin's father, and his son is in Aries. So his son is, his father he wanted to be first. He was a hothead, and he was arrogant and probably a narcissist, and just talked a lot of shit because that sun is conjunct Mercury, and, talk down to people, look down at people. A lot of times people with the sun in the 10th house had to protect themselves by, learning to look down on people because they felt looked down upon, especially. And there's this competitiveness to this underlying competitiveness. And it was a competitiveness around masculinity and the identity of masculinity between Marvin Gaye and his father. That Saturn there is repressing the idea of masculinity. And like I said, his father was a cross-dresser. And Marvin as well, he dabbled in dressing in women's clothing. His Venus is trining his Mars. Anytime you see Venus-Mars trine or conjunct, this is androgyny, people who like to play with both energies, and really dive into both both sexes. And he has a Venus in Pisces. So this would be no bounds on his femininity. But with that with that Saturn on his sun, he really had an issue with that because his Saturn is conjunct his sun. So his identity and who he was in the world was conflicting with how he felt and what he needed in privacy and his appreciation and his love style, his love language in privacy with that Venus in the 8th. And that's reinforced by, some of his songs, some of his major top songs, which a lot of it has to do with love, distant lover. That's Venus in the 8th house. How sweet it is to be loved. As Venus in the 8th house, and Pisces especially. I heard through the grapevine, that's the secret, sexual healing. That's totally Venus in the 8th house. So that was that energy. Now that North Node in Scorpio, Now, what is that? North Node in Scorpio is a lot of complex things, but it's dealing with intimacy, vulnerability, it's dealing with sex, death, taxes, rebirth. Marvin was murdered by his father in his home. You know, that's that North Node in the fourth house. Scorpio deals with death. You know, that North Node is trining Mars. Mars rules firearms. And that Mars is in Capricorn, so that was a slow rage, slow growth. This is tension built over time. You know, that animosity with his pain that his mother went through, because you know his moon is conjunct Neptune, so he has this deep appreciation and deep care and deep need to protect and spiritual relationship with his mother. So that North Node in Scorpio, a lot of times when you have North Node in Scorpio, these people tend to definitely get into violent situations, deal with a lot of issues around money and finances, going through lawsuits, going through taxes, things like that, because it's that push and pull between the material and spiritual world, understanding to let go of the material world, letting go of the finances, letting go of the need to have a lot of things and hoard a lot of physical things, and going more to the side of really intimate, internal wealth, emotional wealth, and really seeing what that is. That's why his Venus in Pisces, his boundless addictions, it was never enough, because it never was going to be enough, because the physical world, the five senses, was never going to be enough. He needed to dive more into the spiritual world, where his Chiron is in the 12th house, and that was definitely trining his North Node with Scorpio. And so his North Node in Scorpio, his death in his home, literally, was very revealing and it showed the animosity and the frustration when you deal with other people that are so detached, you know. He has Lilith in Aquarius in the 7th house, and his North Node in Scorpio is square that. So he dealt with a lot of people who had a lot of dark sides to them, and they were hiding a lot of that about themselves, and hiding that. Where does that get us? That was the representation spiritually of Marvin Gaye's life, with that North Node in Scorpio. That's so much so that even the closest people perceivably can kill you, you know, like his father. The people that are supposed to protect you, you know, Scorpio protect you and make sure you're good and nurture you, can be your biggest enemy, like how the people closest to you can be your biggest enemy, and how we need to be more aware of that and stop diluting ourselves from that truth, that moon in the 3rd house, that, you know, uncomfortable truth, retrograde Neptune. Because even though Neptune is there bringing a lot of compassion, it's retrograde, and at some point the veil has to be lifted for the truth to be seen. And yeah, that North Node in Scorpio, a lot of times these people end up in violent situations, like I said, and deal with loss and death, and a lot of this transformation, because they have to deal with this idea between things making sense and how a lot of motherfucking life just doesn't make sense at all. You know, he used his Scorpio magnetism, that sexuality, that, you know, that pull, that ability to transform people through his music. You know, so it's quite interesting how his chart played out. I want to see what you guys think, though, about this video. Let me know how you guys feel about that North Node in the 4th house. I really feel like it was one of his jobs to bring to the forefront the toxic bonding that is created in the family home, to really put that on the stage, to really show what that is, what that means, how the lack of intimacy is creating this need to succeed in the outer world without having an inner world, and lacking the roots to really hold lacking the foundation to really, and the roots to really hold up what you're trying to build in the outer world, and how it's, you know, kind of it can easily catch on fire, right? With that Aries in the 10th house, it can easily catch on fire if it's created on a fake image with that Libra on the 4th, you know, and it needs to become something deeper than that. And that's what that North Node in Scorpio in the 4th, that's what I feel like, especially when it was trining his Cancer, really showing that emotional healing that a lot of us need to be doing. So definitely be going back and listening to his songs with a deeper look and seeing where he was coming from and seeing how this complex human being, what he offered us to the world. I mean, that Venus in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, compassion and love and understanding is what he was trying to teach everybody, that judgment shouldn't exist, especially not in the family circle. You know, so much so that it's repressing people's identities. Identities should be formulated in the family and not, you know, pushed and not imagined. So let me know what you guys think about this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.